Hey boaters, we're back at the Outboard Dad channel, here to help you have a better boating experience. Today we're going to talk a little bit about my used outboard motor buying guide to let you know that it's available on Amazon for $20. It's just a grab and go, doesn't get into great detail, but it hits those high points you need when you're buying an outboard motor for your boat or a boat with an outboard motor. Still offering for a limited time, if you send me proof of purchase to keith@outboarddad.com, to help you, a half-hour session over the phone to help you with a motor you're buying or a boat with an outboard you're looking to purchase, or maybe a motor that you're working on you're trying to get back up and running. It's a $250 value for free when you send me proof of purchase for my guide. Next steps here is we have to get our drive gear in place, right? Our drive shaft gear. So if you remember, we got the prop shaft in place, and we got our drive shaft in because those bearings, we wanted to make sure all those bearings stayed in there and make sure that's all good and turns nicely. So we know we're in good shape with that. Now we have to get our gear in place, our drive gear, and get the nut on. We have our nut right here. Let me turn on some lights. So there is a spline inside this gear. Not sure if you can see that or not, but there's a spline inside there, and we want to make sure this goes in this way. Now it's a little tricky sometimes to get in there. Sometimes you'd like pull the prop shaft out a little bit like that, and you see it just drop down. Just makes it a little easier to get it in place. Sometimes I'll even push down on this while I'm pushing the gear into place. So I'm putting it, if you remember, we had, and I'll show you on another one while my hand is in here trying to line it up. Of course I already dropped it, but let me show you what I'm doing inside. So you can see this is a 70 horse, but it's the same setup. What I'm doing is, you see I pulled the shaft out a little bit so it comes down, right? We're all in place in the back there, and it kind of tilts down a little bit. And what we're trying to do is get that gear on top of this, which is where our drive shaft goes down. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hold it close to in place where it needs to be, and then I'm going to pick up my drive shaft here and hopefully drop it down on top of it. And there we go. Take a look inside and I'll show you so you can see. Shine my light in there so now you can see the gear there, and you can see the tip of the drive shaft coming down into that gear. So now we can get our nut ready to go on there. So I cleaned the end of the drive shaft as well. So I just really, all I did was just take a little bit of, brake cleaner in there so that I know that the end of the drive shaft is clean. I did clean it before I put it down, but I also probably got a little white lithium on it too. So what I'm going to do is use this blue thread locker. A lot of guys will use red because this is the drive shaft nut, but I'm not a big fan of not being able to take it apart later on. Of course, I just lost half my thread locker down on the floor there because I wasn't paying attention. But just get a little bit on there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this with my magnet. Now it only goes on one way, so I have it the way it came off. So I'm just going to hold it with my magnet like that. Slip it into place here. I am going to have to lift up my drive shaft just a little bit to get it on there. And then just get it tightened or in place enough so it starts a couple of threads. And then I have my wrench here, which is the right size, and it's a nice thin one so it fits inside there, and then we'll tighten it up. All right, let's see if we can show this. Try and slip this inside there. Of course, it's sticking to the steel. Just get it in place enough and then push my drive shaft down on it. Okay, so I was able to get the drive shaft down now, and it's pressing on that nut. So I should be able to remove my magnet now. And then if I rotate this, I am going to put my wrench in there to hold the nut. I should be able to tighten that nut on there. Okay, just so you can see, I have the nut started now. So I'm going to go ahead and put my wrench in there again. And I'm just spinning my drive shaft with it here, and see how it's got it now, right? And this will hit the side, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Now that you know my, I don't need my flashlight in there anymore. Now that you know my wrench is there on the nut, it's pushed in all the way, and it's held it against the side of the gear case. Now I'm just going to grab a pipe wrench and grab the drive shaft. Now they make spline tools that you can put on there, but if you know me at all, you know I'm not a big fan of spending extra money on all kinds of tools. So I just grab it in the center. It might get a little teeth marks on it, but it won't cause any damage. And then get it really good and tight. Now that the Loctite that's in there is what's really going to hold it in place long term. But we do want to make sure we get it in there tight. And now we can put the rest of the gears in. Let's do that next. All right, so we're really in the home stretch now. The rest is just kind of reassembly. We're going to put the gears back in, the forward gear, reverse gear, whichever one it was here. We're going to put this one back in first. It has a spacer here. We made sure we kept these all wrapped up and nice and clean. And then after we get these in place, we're going to go ahead and put our plate in. It's got some white lithium on it there, with the hole at the bottom. And remember, our bolts go in there. We're going to make sure our bearing carrier is ready to go, and we're going to reassemble this. So let's start with this gear. We do have to take our wrench out first. I don't think we want that in there. Again, I'm going to take another look, make sure for some reason one of those bearings didn't pop out, but we're going to pop this on. Right in place. And what I'm going to do is turn that drive shaft to make sure it's engaged with the other gear, and I can feel it turning. And then we can go ahead and put our plate in. That'll be next. Now I want to keep that as straight as I can going in here. Push that in place. So I want to keep it, and I'll show you a close-up. To keep it, if you notice, I want to keep it at a point where it's straight. You can see the 4 holes are straight, and the hole at the bottom is lined up, because when we put our bearing carrier in, we have to meet those 4 holes with our 4 bolts with the seals on them. And then of course but first our snap rings go in. So I'm going to try and back the camera up a little bit and see if you can watch me put the snap rings in. Not sure how much you'll be able to see. I'll try and get the light in there. So here's our big old snap rings. So if you've seen before, I have my special pliers that I redid the ends on. So these are going to go in here. There's 2 of them. So I want to make sure I grab it. On the V6, it takes a little more forearm strength to get these squeezed, right? So it goes into place. So let me see if I can do this so you can watch. There's 2 rings inside there where these snap rings go. So I'm going to try and get it started and then see if I can put the flashlight in there so you can see it. Not sure if you're able to see anything now or not. But I'm going to slide it back, and there's 2 sets, so I have to get all the way in the back to the second set of slots for this. Get it back in there all the way. There we go. That's the back one. Not sure how much of that you were able to see. Get the next one set up. There we go. Bring in a little closer. Okay, Okay, so that's a little better. Now you can see how those two snap rings go in there and how I do need to straighten the four holes. They're pretty close, but I'm going to clean up that surface right in front of those snap rings so that my O-ring seals off nicely. I'll show you that next. All right, so we got both the snap rings in place. So next what I'm going to do, we already replaced the seals right in here in a previous video. I'm going to make sure this is nice and dry and clean. We're going to put our little thin layer of silicone here. I'm not going to put any inside there, but I am going to clean it again because, you know, we got a little bit of oil and grease and stuff putting our parts in. So I'm just going to spray a little brake cleaner and wipe it out so that we get a good seal on this. So that'll be in the next episode because it took us some time to get this together. We're in the home stretch. Once this goes in and then the top bearing carrier, we still have to put the seals in the top bearing carrier. We're going to show you that in our next video. So please like, subscribe, send any comments that you have, and we look forward to seeing you out on the water. Have a great day.